Hey everyone, it's autumn, a time for harvest festivals and family reunions. And if you're planning on getting together with your family, you should protect yourself and them by getting an updated COVID vaccine. If you're 50 or older, you're at greater risk for hospitalization and death, especially if you have a chronic disease. So get an updated vaccine now. Need more information? Talk to a doctor. Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I've been telling my friends about this, and they're like, "Are we allowed to come?" And I'm like, "Yes, white people are allowed to come to this." This
$125, please.
It's not exclusively an Asian adoptee, any of that kind of thing.
Very true.
Join us, white people.
That's what happened in LA. There was all kinds of people showed up.
Yeah.
And we had probably some of the best questions from the allies.
Purple people, green people, blue people,
green,
orange people. JK, we actually don't like orange people.
I don't like orange people for sure.
Nope, I can't do that. Amazing. We're ready for Norebang.
You're listening to the Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Welcome back to the Janchi Show solo
food
time.
Portion.
Oh no, yeah, food solo. I'm just gonna be sitting here eating food by myself. No, I don't know.
It's not sad. It's fine.
That's pretty sad.
I gotta forget about the soundboard. I gotta get better about that.
I suck at the soundboard. I don't need that responsibility in my life.
Hi, people. How's everyone doing?
I'm doing great.
Welcome back.
I felt like a Dora the Explorer moment, like in children's program. Like, can you say chair in Spanish? That's right. See ya.
That's funny.
Anyways, I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Yes, we are the Janchi Show. I am one of your hosts, Nathan, with KJ and Patrick, and we are 3 Korean adoptees.
We did it. We showed up to our own show
in 3 different states, enjoying life.
Our own journeys,
and
and physically,
and our own points of life. Right?
All right.
Yeah.
Different milestones in life.
It's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
And I'd say different personalities, to be honest, too. I think all 3 of us.
Oh, yeah, that's deeply accurate.
Yeah. So I think
we're
we
all
have
really similar.
I think we have a good spectrum here covered, right?
Yeah. This is our first episode, so thank you everyone
welcome.
for tuning in. Clearly, we don't know how to do a podcast. It's fine. This is how whatever number you see in front of this, ignore that.
Yeah. Subtract all of it.
Subtract 100% of it.
KJ, what does Janchi mean for people who might be here for the very first time?
For actual first timers or for people who just happen to forget, Janchi means to feast in Korean, or maybe it just means feast. I think it might actually be a noun for feast. But we generally...
You have a ghost?
Yeah, I saw that door.
I was like, what just happened?
I mean, I know it's almost Halloween and everything, but...
I just
was like,
assumed
my
it was your
foundation
wife.
is not that bad. It's fine. Janchi means feast or celebration, because what celebration or what feast is there without a celebration? So we call ourselves the Janchi Show because we're here to celebrate who we are as Koreans, as Americans, as human beings, all of our intersectional identities, and also we eat a snack or drink a drink at the end of the show. There is some feasting, some legitimate feasting happening. Mm-hmm. So, but for right now, feast your ear holes on this solo conversation.
Well, specifically speaking of feasting and celebrating and drinking, we have something coming up real soon. Nathan, what do we have coming up real soon?
Oh, yes.
What do we have coming up real soon?
Very soon. This October, which is this month, we have the Janchi Live Part 2.
Live show!
That was so... Yay!
Mine was good. It's just clear that that was not pre-planned.
No, that was not
because we all yelled something completely
pre-planned?
different. Well, just for the new listener.
In my head, I was like, I was gonna yell "play ball" is actually what I was gonna yell because it's
you should have done it.
Too predictable.
Reminds me of but Yes, Janchi Live. This is our second gathering in Dallas, or should I say Carrollton, Texas.
I know,
'cause
that's what
people
I was wondering as well.
People from Dallas are like, Carrollton is not Dallas. I'm like,
Are they
when
taking
you're out of
offense?
state
I
or
know.
whatever, yeah. This is a real
Yeah, give us
inside
some
baseball that
geography
no one
lessons.
needs, but there's a big highway that bisects. It's like a loop, right? So it bisects it's like anything past 635. Like further north than that, they're like, that's not Dallas. And even 635 is being a little generous for like what's like, quote, Dallas proper. So yeah, we're definitely in the burbs
Okay.
in Carrollton, but it's the greater DFW area. So I just say Dallas because nobody needs that kind of geography. You know?
I mean, do people get mad like Fort Worth / Dallas? Like if someone's in
Yes,
Fort
that
Worth
is
versus
legitimate.
Dallas?
That is,
I can
yes,
see.
that's a
right?
big deal.
But you see it all the time on maps, and of course the airport. It's Dallas
Yeah,
Fort Worth,
DFW,
but people
yeah.
would not want to be, labeled in one if they lived in the other. It's kind of like
Mostly
Los Angeles and
Fort
Orange County too.
Worthians don't really like Dallasites.
Oh, interesting.
Which is fair because more geography. Dallas is like, quote, the last city of the East, and Fort Worth is, quote, the first city of the West, if you will, for Texas. So like when you think of, if you're from out of state and you think of like Texas as like cowboys and horses and trucks and
Yes,
oil,
that is
stuff
how
like
I think
that,
of Dallas.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. So that's really Fort Worth. That's like where the rodeo is. That's where they're doing cattle drives through downtown. That's all that stuff. You can go all that. Dallas is like a bunch of corporate headquarters moved there to the suburbs because it's really nice. And now there's a bunch of people with money and they're like, look at how rich I am. So you're like just as likely to see like a King Ranch truck as you are like a Tesla. So yeah, that's what it is.
Your rich person impression, real good.
It's real French villainy. Like you can see the pencil mustache as he runs away in his mime outfit.
Let's so do
Hilarious. Hilarious. Well,
Yeah.
I'm very excited for this live show. The
Yeah,
whole reason
all
we
that
did
to say, come to
the
Dallas.
whole reason we did that KJ's
Yes.
geography is just to say wherever you are, if you do decide to come, you can just post that you're in Dallas, even if we're in Carrollton. It's fine.
But don't post that you're in Fort Worth.
Yeah,
Apparently.
don't post that you're in Fort Worth.
That's very different. But if you go to
It's
Fort Worth, you'll be
very
like,
different.
oh, I see how this is incredibly different.
Yeah, but speaking of, we have some cool stuff that we're going to be doing for the show. It's an all-day thing, I think, as Nathan mentioned. If he didn't mention it now, he mentioned it last week.
Either way, he mentioned it 10 minutes ago
Yeah.
for us. So in real time, it's only been 10 minutes.
I mean,
We're going a little crazy.
in comparison, last year was a live show and Korean barbecue, and that's pretty much all we had planned. This year, we have much more planned, and so we really hope that the additional content will entice more people to come. So, and I'm excited. I'm excited for all the things that we have going on. So,
Me too.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fantastic. And I think really the thing that we learned from the first event was like we had like an informal, kind of unplanned, but kind of planned gathering the night before at like a Korean bar. And that was really fun. And then we had like nothing for all of the day of the show because we were just running around because it was our first time being together. And that was fun.
Yeah.
And then we did the live show and that was more fun. And so we were like, well, the things that we really enjoyed were like getting to meet everyone. Let's do more of that. And also now that the three of us have met each other, I think we have to spend less time being like, wow, togetherness, and more time like being like, well, let's be together with the friends of the show and fans of the show and all that. And yeah, so.
Even though we just talked about it on like the 100th episode, I think with Jerry, I kind of forget that was our first time having
Isn't it
met.
wild?
And like, especially thinking about the planning of this, like, and thinking of like what else we want to do. It's like, I keep forgetting that the day of, like when we actually were all together, we were just running around. Like, because we were all trying to do stuff because
I
we
think
just never
mostly
hung out together.
Jerry
Yeah.
had some errands to run,
Yeah.
and then we were also there.
And we were there.
Yeah, he was like,
and we were
I gotta
there.
go see some Asian friends and support their business. Do you guys want to come along since you're in my hood? And we were like,
Patrick's
yeah.
losing hats out of windows.
Patrick buys
That was at
hats
the
and
end of the
then
night.
subsequently loses a hat.
I bought a hat at 10 a.m., lost it at 10 p.m.
We're
Same
tagging
day.
the city with our stickers. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we had all kinds of fun trying on Homeboks. It was a good time. I
Right.
did enjoy
like-
that event, but
But
I
like
think this
AJ
one was going
said,
to be
now,
fun too.
yes, exactly. Now
Yeah.
we'll do that, but with everyone,
Yes,
but also in a different place. and also,
and also
different
in a
things.
different place.
And hopefully not losing
With
anyone.
also some Korean stuff and also some not Korean stuff.
Exactly.
I mean, if you want to
Exactly.
partake in that. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
truly,
Yeah.
it will be what you make of it, honestly, and then
And if you
kind of
have
what we make of it.
questions, Yeah, you guys can ask us. I mean, we've already had a few people, DM us and things like that. So definitely reach out if you do have questions before you book. But if you do want to book, you can go to janchishow.com/live. And there's a form on there that you can start filling out, and then you can make a payment to actually reserve your spot. And I guess we can announce how much it's going to be costing too, because we have solidified that. It will be $125 a person, and $240 for a couple. So if you want to bring your partner, spouse, best friend, sibling, parent, whoever you want to bring, feel free to do that as well. This is open to everybody. So,
And what does that $125 cover for you, or what do you get within the ticket price?
It covers that day of events that we have been talking about. So including the first interview, live show, then we will have a surprise, possibly cooking demonstration or participation. And then we will be going to lunch. This will not be covered in the cost, but you can partake if you'd like, or go take a rest if you like. It's up to you until the next actual scheduled event, which will be the next show, which will be a solo interviews of us. I guess not really an interview.
We just call that a solo show.
It is what
Solo
you're
show.
hearing now. What you're
It's
hearing now, but live.
without all the business of it.
And then,
And
of
dinner.
course, Korean barbecue, because we all love Korean barbecue. And afterwards, this time we're going to include some noraebang. Last time we did it just kind of on a whim, but this time it'll
This
be
time it's
included.
official.
It's officially official and
And
included.
for the
Officially
uninitiated, noraebang is the Korean term for karaoke, and Korean karaoke is different than maybe karaoke that you've traditionally experienced. So it's a fun time. It's a great hang. I don't know. I love it, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and you
Do
don't
you
have to
think
sing.
it's
You
a
can
lot of
just
fun
come.
if I say it's a
Yeah.
lot of fun a lot of times?
Yeah, 100%. It makes
Is that
it
good
totally
marketing?
true.
This,
Great.
well,
I mean, at
this
least-
is Patrick.
What?
This is Patrick and KJ, both the singers, saying that it's fun. So again, no pressure.
You sang many songs.
You said if you go onto my Instagram at Patrick in the World, plugging myself, you can see a video of Nathan singing karaoke with the
Yeah.
rest of us. It's very
Yes,
fun.
I don't mind singing. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's open to everybody. So even if you don't want to sing, you can come enjoy. So
Yeah.
That is true. It's included in your ticket, so you might
Yes.
as well come by.
Come
if you
on
want.
down.
yeah,
Yes, I'm very excited for all of that. I am especially excited for our guest, somebody who
Yeah.
wanted on the show before and who very graciously allowed us their time. Not gonna spoil
Ooh,
who,
yeah.
because I think we should keep it a secret. I think it makes
Really?
it
The
more
entire
exciting.
time.
Maybe,
Maybe
I don't know.
maybe like 3 days before. It's like
We'll
boom.
pray about it. Yeah.
We'll pray about it.
To whatever deity we serve.
It'll be.
I like
allegiance
support
to?
better.
It'll be great. So
I like
Okay.
support. I like support. Please.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun day of fun things. You're right. I think if we say fun a bunch of times,
Right.
it'll make it happen.
It's just because it's
It's
late
fun.
at night, and so we're like, well, I don't have my thesaurus out. I left it in my other
I don't
room.
know that anybody listening to this is like, I am not paying money to go to this. Like anybody listening is like, nah, I'm out. Anybody do
It's
at
fine.
least.
It's
Okay,
fine.
we gotta
okay.
move on
It's
with the
fine,
show
it's fine.
because we've spent like 14 minutes handling the business. And could that have been a tight interview? Yeah, but we actually have other sponsors, so we don't want to waste your time with more ad content. We want to waste your time with unplanned ad content.
True.
So,
Go for it.
Fine.
Yeah. Anyways,
I thought you
One
said
last
you had
time.
something.
no.
Yeah,
One last time, October 22nd,
Oh.
JanchiShow.com/live. Get your tickets. Send money to
Carrollton
Nathan.
Courtyard Marriott.
We'll see you in Dallas, October 22nd. JanchiShow.com/live. Okay, great. That's done. Woof.
It'll be fun.
We did
Yeah.
it.
I need a break. I'm going to take a refresh.
All right.
Throwing it
Wow.
at
All right. So the solo show, it's been a while since I feel like we've done this because we've had like a number of interviews kind of back to back, which has been nice. I was actually thinking about something, Patrick, that you said early, and I figure why not discuss this on air instead of off air? But it's not it's not business related per se. But one of the things that you said was, I want to ask people, or at least you were thinking about asking people about their story differently. So one of like the hallmarks of our interview shows is like we open the show with "Tell us about your adoption story," and Patrick, you were like, "Well, what if we just said, tell us your story?" And I was like, but we're in the middle of an interview. Why would you change the first question right now? But now we're not in the middle of an interview. So
True.
Patrick, I'm curious to hear more about your thoughts on like what's kind of leading you to that place, what you hope comes out of a question that's phrased that way versus your adoption story question like we traditionally asked.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that my mind latches onto ideas in real time, and sometimes I get on tangents. I think I mentioned that in our previous show with Hey Shield multiple times in the interview that I get off on tangents like I'm doing right now.
It's like Inception.
So I think it's not, I don't know. I think it's a language thing for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's just, I can't honestly remember what prompted me to think of that originally, but essentially I feel like I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right way to articulate this. So at the end of the day, I know our show, and especially when we do interviews, it is to have people share basically their adoptee story, essentially. And so my whole thinking behind it is that when we ask someone to share their adoption story, it feels very limiting, I guess, in a way. And for me, it's like wanting to get beyond just the singular, that part of the story. But especially ever since having brought that up, I've thought about it in the context of the show as like, well, obviously that's one of the draws that people come on here to talk about is the adoption aspect of their story. But still, even with that thought in mind, I think just even saying the words adoption story, it just feels like it feels like it takes the agency away from the person telling their story because we only want that one part of it. So instead of, I think that's where I'm thinking of like reframing the question as just tell us as much or as little of your story as you'd like. I think the adoption part is implied and is not necessary. And I think when I speak it out loud personally, like when I hear it or say it myself, it just feels like I'm limiting you, my guest or our guest, to only giving me this much of yourself in that context, which again, in the context of the show is kind of what we're
Sure.
after. And then we unpack from there, you know? But yeah,
No,
I
I
think
get
that's
it.
just, I think that's just kind of where my thought process was at that time. I don't remember who that was that I had brought that up with, but
Yeah, I
at
don't
that
remember
time, that's kind of what I was thinking, I think. So I don't know if that answers your question or opens the door for other discussion, but that's kind of where I was at.
It makes sense to me, honestly. Actually, I like the way that you're framing it because, like you said, the context of the show, it's almost implied that that's probably what they're going to talk about, but it doesn't, in a way, force them to talk about that. If they wanted to talk about something else, like just, oh, I was raised here, I was this, you know, and none of it, in a way, has to be specifically about adoption, but in a way it will because we are adopted. And so even though it's not saying that, it could potentially still include that without having to force it with that question. So no, I think that's, I'm fine either way you guys want to go with it too. So yeah, I mean, if we want to switch it up at this point in the middle of
Nathan
year
just
two,
went full business meeting.
He did. He was like, all right,
do
we're
it.
taking it back to business.
Yeah.
So actually, well, I appreciate you saying that. And I remember what had prompted me to think that. And I talked about it before about like when once we start to come out of the fog or come to terms, we lose the ability to find we can now be triggered very easily by a lot of different things, like whether it be pop culture or just in life in general. And I had thought of that because I had spoken with another transracial adoptee, and in our conversation, they were relaying to me the thing that had triggered them, and it just really made me super sad because I feel like those are the stories that we need to hear. And it's so unfair that the people with the most traumatic experiences or things that like really, really terrible things that have happened to them, they need their voice to be amplified the most and relive that trauma over and over again for people outside of our stuff, or even for us, people who don't have that or share that experience, to understand. And I think that's one of the reasons too. It's like thinking about language in the way of what little thing could set someone off. And like, even just, I think that that's why I thought of that at that moment, was because it's like, if we ask someone their adoption story, like how to, obviously they filled the form out. So from the context of the show, they get it. And they wouldn't come on the show if they were probably going to be triggered by that question. But it could, I feel like, trigger somebody just because they think of adoption in such maybe a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And that, triggers them in some way. So I think that was where my thought process was with it. But because of that one specific conversation, that had led me down that path. So I just wanted to provide that.
Yeah. No, I think you said in the moment, you were like, well, I'm interested in how we can give ourselves language and reclaim some of this. And I think you're right. Like the phrase, tell us your adoption story, is inherently limiting because of the context in which we've heard it before. So I'm like Nathan, like I could go either way. And I think it's just a matter of, how much of the world that we live in, how much do we want to fight to reclaim something or shift and move away from it altogether? You know what I mean? And I really think about this specifically. I just, because of things I've been taking in lately, have been thinking about this specifically within like Black America, and how like Black people in America drive culture, and how like obviously they have like language that they have reclaimed. There's a queer community that has language that they have reclaimed that was once used to hurt them and now is like part of like their own vernacular, like as a way of like keeping top of mind what has transpired, but also like reclaiming that. Sarah's making a protein shake. It's fine.
Okay. I thought that was one of Nathan's kids going, shh. I was like, how can he hear him?
But there is kind of that idea of like, well, actually I fully reject this so far as like, I'm just going to not ever touch it. And even again, going back to gender, thinking about people who identify as non-binary is like, well, actually the idea of you can only be one or the other, I find so limiting and so wrong-headed that I'm actually going to identify as outside of that, just, for myself, or because like I've maybe philosophically believe this about gender, So I think it's kind of one of those things of like, do we want to reclaim the idea of an adoption story? Do we just want to abandon it altogether? I don't think we're going to solve it in this podcast, but I thought it was an interesting thing to flag. And I was curious, because I remember some of the earlier language discussion that you had been on in terms of, like saying where I grew up versus where I'm from, and then thinking about telling one's adoption story. And then also the idea of coming out of the fog, even reclaiming that idea, which maybe adoptees, I don't know that it's been a conscious reclamation so much as just that this is the only vocabulary that we have. So right. I think that's like kind of an interesting thing there too. I'm like, is there a better phrase than coming out of the fog to use, falling out of a plane?
So that's one that I have definitely been wrestling with for probably the better part of a year. And I've had conversations with Katie Gagel a lot about that specific term or that phrase, and what we could, or what an alternative could be. Because I like what you brought up about, do we reclaim language or do we just leave it all together? Like, how do you make that decision? And unfortunately, I feel like it's very subjective. I think as a community, it's almost impossible to make a decision like that because people do things in their own way. And so as I've been trying to like figure out how do you move away from coming out of the fog, I feel like I've been hearing it so much more than I was even hearing it when we first started using it. And I was like, and I don't really, and it's not my place to tell somebody, hey, I don't think you should use this. And I like, my reasonings are specifically because it was coined by a white adoptive parent who, for all intents and purposes, has written a very impactful and influential book about adoption and transracial adoption and the adoptee experience. However, that still comes from somebody who is at the end of the day an adopter and not an adoptee. And I think that's my biggest issue with it, and especially as a transracial adoptee, when it comes to talking about reclaiming language and how do we use what's been probably used against us. This phrase does not necessarily fall into that category. You know, it's honestly, it can be used for any person who is discovering their identity or coming to some sort of revelation. But for me as an adoptee and knowing that history behind it, I'm like, there has to be something, instead of reclaiming, it's a moving away from and trying to move towards something new. And so I've used coming to terms with my adoption. So, which I think is very clinical. I don't necessarily think it rolls off the tongue as well as like coming out of the fog, because that's both metaphorical, but also can be taken very literally and easily visualized. I think coming to terms is much more abstract and intangible. But I feel like for me, it captures what it has been, like that experience for me. Because while I do agree with the language and imagery of coming out of the fog, like again, for me, it's just moving. I want to move away from that because of where it comes from. And coming to terms just sounds right to me, because at the end of the day, I don't know or have read anybody else who's used it that way. And it just sits right for me. But again, it's like, if you put it up in a poll, I bet, and you had 4 different answers, I bet all 4 answers would have the same amount of votes, you know, in an adoptee group or something, because we're all coming from different places and it affects us differently at different times. I was using coming out of the fog all the time when I first started to go on this journey. We talked about it on the show a lot, you know, because it was like, that was new language for all of us, I think. And it was, that, like you said, it was the only thing that was there to describe, you know, what we were going through. So I don't know. Yeah, that's just like, that's what I've been thinking about in terms of what's the alternative, what's worked for me. But again, not everything that works for me will work for somebody else. So
yeah, I mean, what you said, exactly that. I think everybody has the right to use whatever language they want to use.
How dare you?
How dare you give me a choice in what language I use?
How dare you proclaim free speech?
And as we have said many times, right, we're not a monolith, right? We all have different ways of explaining our background, our exploration, our points in life, you know, where we are in our adoption story, what we want to discover, what we want to search for, what we don't want to search for. I think that is all, you know, I think a good thing, that the knowledge and the exploration also comes with the terminology and, you know, that the wording. So knowing where it came from, which again, thank you for sharing that, you know, that what you and Katie found, I wouldn't have ever known that. For me, it doesn't change the term because I'm the one using it. So in a way, I'm claiming to use it. It's coming out of
my mouth.
It's my mouth, not somebody else's mouth. Like if somebody else came up to me and goes, "Oh, you're coming out of the fog," and you know, I didn't know what that meant, that would have been maybe a little bit different context. But since I'm the one who came out of the fog and know the language and identify with that phrase, then for me, that's what I continue to use until I find something that I like better. But
yes, and I would say the moment of my apocalypse.
The moment of
my enlightening.
All right, well,
I don't know.
You know, if that's what you want to go with.
Things. Yeah,
I actually don't hate it.
I don't hate it either.
I've literally just tried it out. But apocalypse, fun fact, literally means revelation. And so, like, it comes to, just because of, here's some fun religiosity, because of the book of Revelations, and we, like, the author of that book calls it like the apocalypse or whatever, and just the prevalence of Christianity, people now associate apocalypse with, quote, the end of the world. But really what the book is talking about was like, well, this is just John's revelation about what's going to happen when Jesus returns, right? And the Greek word is apocalypse. So now we have all this concept of like apocalypse being the same as doomsday, and yet it only means revelation. And something that I've seen now in some like theological, post-evangelical, whatever kind of realms, more academic, more authory, whatever, is people using the word apocalypse to mean revelation with the baggage of kind of doomsday and like playing with that baggage specifically. And so for me, part of me coming to terms with my adoption did feel very apocalyptic. And I think if you asked me and Sarah, we'd both be like, yeah, that was a lot. That was something that like that she saw in me, something that we felt together as a married couple, you know, like all of it. It was quite apocalyptic in the doomsday sense. Like a lot of things got turned on its head that we took for granted. And yet, really, ultimately, it was just a revelation of me being, oh, I'm adopted and I'm Asian, and that means some things, you know? So
How did you use it again?
The moment of my apocalypse. So without sounding like a really hoity-toity philosophical professor, I would love to say the moment of my apocalypse, my adoption apocalypse, if you will. But that sounds way too pretentious. So I don't get paid enough money to say things like that. I don't write enough to say things like that. Patrick, if you want to post about that on your Instagram, just credit me with it. Just credit me with it. But,
I will.
Hey, my wife called me pretentious, and I said, moi?
Okay.
And he ran away with his baguette and his little pencil stash like a French villain. Is that a callback to this current episode?
No.
I don't know.
Yes,
I'm going insane.
I believe it was. I am gonna have to. I gotta sit with that. That's good language. I like that a lot. I think. Yes, I like that a lot. I don't have anything else to say about it right now, without just firing off into another tangent. But
I was gonna say,
I
I just
appreciate
think of
that.
movies when I think of that now. So.
Yeah, but you think of disaster movies, right?
I do
See,
think of a disaster
that's what I'm
movie.
saying. That's the baggage.
So,
Honestly, the first thing I thought about was the Marvel Comics character Apocalypse, the first mutant, and then thinking about his character being recontextualized.
Oh snap!
As he's a revelation of the next step of man. Why did you make this? Why did you play this?
Because he's going. I don't know. This just says dramatic piano.
I was gonna say this could be really deep in a nerdy way.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't want to go full nerd there. But it did really make me think about it. And, like, think about that character in a different way and the stories that he's told in, because it is posed as being very much a doomsday sense, but he is always there to just be like, I'm the first of the next step in the evolution of man.
He's like,
so it's like I am the revelation of what comes next. But it's not, I don't know if it's ever spelled out that way. I haven't read all the comics, but
how dare you?
Very interesting.
So, anyways,
cool.
Yeah, we have a voicemail that I want to play.
Ooh,
and
yes.
It's short and sweet, but I feel like continues in our theme of, especially for me, doing a deep dive into Patrick, your language and how you've developed as a person post apocalypse, coming to grips with language and things. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll this tape.
Hey guys, it's Mayor Jenna. I just got done listening to episode 101, and I wanted to point out that a main developmental thing and milestone that Nathan forgot to mention is his extreme, very impressive knowledge of BTS.
Nathan, your rebuttal.
I've forgotten it all. I am sad. I still listen to it. I mean, whenever I get a chance, it pops up on my feed or my rotation. But I have not looked into any current news or happenings of the old army. So
I've forgotten it all. He said
on Disney Plus, Permission to Dance.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I haven't had time to watch Disney.
Can
Plus.
you name the members?
Oh gosh, no.
I got Sugar.
RM. Isn't there what in that one?
Jin.
Jimin.
Jimin.
That's it. I got nothing
That's
else.
it.
I think we did real well.
Sorry to all the BTS fans who listen to this. Or the army. Sorry, the BTS army. My apologies. Well, that was fun.
Wow.
Yeah. I just really enjoyed that. I was like, oh my gosh,
that's a funny callback.
This is really funny. And I love I don't know. There's so much that it's like, I don't know. I don't feel like I've been drinking from a fire hose for a long time, but when I hear things like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I've just gotten used to drinking from a fire hose.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we just have lots of conversations, not even just on the recording, just off the recording.
Oh,
especially in those early
revealing
days.
to the world our friendship.
And sometimes I forget what we talked about on air and what we talked about in person, right? So.
Sometimes I forget what it is that we're recording in the middle of recording it.
He'll be like, "Whoa, what day is it?"
Wait, what
What's
were we here for? Where am
What
I?
am I doing next? What am I doing tomorrow?
Oh my gosh, incredible!
Yeah,
Well,
that's-
speaking of what are we doing next? Are we doing a food?
We should, if you guys have something.
Oh,
I
we've
have
got
a-
stuff.
I've got a
know.
box.
we've got
a new box to send you. So
I finally moved into my house. I've got
and you
new
found some-
windows.
I feel like you've been saying
Okay.
that for about 4
No,
weeks.
I mean like
I know.
Sarah.
It seems like there's
got
always
through,
construction
like,
going
some
on,
of the
too.
final boxes. Like
Nice.
we're finally chill in our home, which is amazing. So
Heck yeah! And you
Yeah,
got some
let's,
new windows in.
let's jump into some food. Yeah,
yeah,
All right, let's
so-
do it.
great.
Do it. Welcome back to the Janchi Show food portion.
Boo, 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 boo.
Foodie, foodie, foodie,
Or drink
foodie, foodie
portion, however,
everywhere.
Oh
Oh yeah, today it's not even technically a food.
It's not
portion.
a food portion. It's a drink portion. Yeah. Sometimes food, sometimes drink. Today it's drink.
Conde.
But since Jerry's here, it's non-alcoholic.
Since Jerry's not here, yeah.
But this one is sorry, put Jerry on blast there. This is a peach iced tea by Cafe. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Cafe Bene.
Bene.
Cafe Bene.
Bene. Bene was his
Boksunga
name?
ice tea.
Yeah. I have been seeing more and more of these pouched teas at H Mart. Have you guys noticed that at all?
No,
I've
I
seen,
have
Haven't
not
been to
been.
H Mart
Blueberry
since.
ones.
Yeah.
Really?
It's,
I was in
it's
LA.
been a minute.
so-
I need to
wow.
I need to get back there. You don't live near one, right though, Patrick?
No,
Yeah,
there's one in
so.
Chicago. There's some in Chicago. I don't know.
Mm.
That's what I was about to do.
This is the
Yeah.
order. You pour ice into a glass, pour this into the ice, and then drink it with a lid and a straw. So I have ice in a glass here, and also
So I want to say I'm gonna be drinking mine right out
a
of the pouch
straw.
here
Mhm.
for the viewers out there. For the
Boys feeling
listeners
fancy.
and for the viewers, it says to add ice. I will say that my package is very cold,
Mine
and
did
it has
as
been
well.
sitting.
Yeah.
No, it has been sitting in this box for I don't even want to guess how long.
Well, is it expired?
That's fair. Mine
by-
also feels cold.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's expired. So
It's not.
And we've established on previous
there you go.
snacks
23. There you go. Plenty of
That-
times.
Korea can make some cold stuff cold that we don't know how it's cold.
Sure. I don't know what
Cold
I know
and
how,
wet.
but it's cold.
It's cold and
it's
wet, but it's
cold.
been in dry packaging in a dry space for years.
But so, like I said, I mean, I've seen more liquids in pouches like this, and the last ones that I've had are actually really good. They're very sweet, though. So I'm curious to see if this one is
Okay.
because it is a peach
I don't
iced tea.
think I can drink this.
Why not?
Out of the pouch because
Am I-
the mouth is open so wide.
No, you
It's
can.
going right on top of me. It smells
No,
good.
no.
It smells like
Just-
peach alcohol.
You just have to just tip it. It's be fine.
Oh, you're drinking it out of the
does
pouch
smell.
too?
I'm drinking out of the pouch too because you told me not to drink out of this cup that I randomly found under my desk.
That's
Yeah,
true.
everyone in
I'm
the
glad
world
you're not
thanks you for
drinking out of it. I'm glad for you for not doing
We'll
it.
find out. I wish I had
This
a
is
straw, to be honest.
What it looks like.
All right,
So,
that looks like tea.
All
It
right.
looks. Yeah, looks
Should I
good.
get
Smells good.
napkins?
It's like
Ready.
thick tea. Cheers. Gambe.
Conde.
Oh, goodness.
Gambe.
Maybe you're supposed to. Maybe you're supposed to add the ice to water it down some.
It feels very strong. Yeah.
Mm,
Wow.
wow.
That's a thick tea.
that's
It's
some
not
syrup.
thick, but it's
Oh, well.
potent.
Whew.
This is pretty
Yeah.
thick.
Good.
Ooh.
This
I
is
mean,
like kind of like if
like
Laffy
Kool-Aid.
Taffy got sat in the car for too long and it was 1,000 degrees
Became
and it got
water?
melted and it get liquefied.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this tastes like
That's not a bad thing.
a peach popsicle that has melted, and this is what you're drinking, the leftover.
I would try to translate this, but it's pure Korean on the back, and I can barely see it, let alone read it.
This is not bad.
And then also,
No, it's
be able to
definitely not bad.
translate
It's
it.
just really strong. Like,
It's
um,
incredibly saturated.
I'm very
it's
curious.
Incredibly.
I think that's what the ice is for, is to water it down a little bit.
Just shake it around.
I wish I could read any of the backs just to see the percentages, like because on the
Not a
front there's a
Starbucks drink.
percentage. One of them says 70%, one of them says 4%, one of them says 0.1, 0.4, and then 97.7%, and just none of those percentages add up.
I hope the 97.7% is just it's good. That's how good it is.
It's 97% good. Out of
pretty good.
100,
It's
that's
2%
pretty
out of 100.
solid.
That's pretty
bad. I don't
I
know.
mean, out of 100, that's pretty good.
I'm
3%
wondering
of
which one is the
respondents
percentage
said,
of juice. Like which I'm guessing it's the 4% juice because it tastes like Kool-Aid. So
I bet the 0.1% is the water part.
yeah.
Not much water.
Goodness. That is strong but yet tasty.
Yeah. All right.
It's got a good flavor to it.
It does.
is
And
good.
it's
I'm not mad
actually,
about
since it's peach. So
Yeah.
I would say that I've had some peach things that are too artificial, and this isn't too artificial. Like it's actually a really good flavor. I wouldn't say it tastes like tea though, right? Like an iced tea or black.
I can
tea
get
or
it a
anything.
little. I get like a green tea style
You get a
flavor.
little bit of
It's
green
like
tea.
it's like similar to a Lipton or an
Lipton,
Arizona.
yeah, a little
like-
Lipton's green tea.
Like
No, that's gotta be the
real
0.4%.
sweet.
Yes,
For the listeners at home, I'm just shaking my iced peach like it's a Starbucks iced coffee. I don't know why. It's fall, y'all.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
that's
that's
tough.
pretty good.
good.
It's good,
like
but
it.
it's tough to
I
drink.
mean, it
with.
is. It's
I wish
it's
that there was
mildly
ice.
addictive.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't want to finish it, and yet I do.
Yeah,
I feel the
that's-
exact same way. That's weird.
That's how I
the
feel,
exact
yeah.
same
I'm
way.
like, I can only
don't
take
wanna
small
finish this,
sips.
but I do.
I know.
even with the ice in there, I can only take small sips. But then, like, I'm like, oh gosh, this is so much. But then after it dissipates, I'm like, but I want some more.
I know. Like my brain is. It's like when you eat. Oh, here's what it reminds me of too: is those peach gummies. You
Oh
know, the
yeah,
little- the
Does
rings,
taste like a gummy.
the peach ring gummies, but
Oh, I
melted
don't know about
into a
that.
liquid form. That's what it
Interesting.
reminds me of. I
All
think.
right. Well, let's
That's
jump
why I
into
wanna
ratings.
keep-
Nathan, what would you give this out of 5?
I mean, on ice and a little more diluted, I'd give it a little higher rating. But I'm just gonna assume that I should have had it that way. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Oh wow, high,
Yeah, I mean,
4.5?
I don't think
super
it's,
high.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's like. I mean, I can't read any of the nutritional value, so all of that's out the door. I'm just going merely off of taste. It's not too artificial. I think it's got a good sweetness to it. Yeah, I mean, I like it, and like I said, I keep going back for more. So yeah, I'm going 4.5.
Well,
assuming
I mean,
I was drinking it on ice with a straw. So
Okay, but
That's
since
true.
you're not
His
drinking
rating
it
is
out
assumptive.
of an ice and
Yes.
straw, what would you give it for how
without
you
it,
just
without
drank
the
it?
ice and everything, it's a little too strong. So I'm gonna drop it down to a 4.
All right, that's still pretty high.
all right, that is
Yeah.
still pretty good.
Still pretty high.
Nathan, Patrick, what about you?
I'm giving mine a 3. I think maybe it would bump up to even perhaps a 4 with some ice and a straw, or maybe even a lid, because I did see on the back of the package it has a lid there. I'm not sure if that's affecting the rating at all.
The
for
lid
me,
does
but
matter. Yeah, no,
The
I
lid
see how
probably matters.
I see your logic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that tracks.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Always been a lid man. Yeah, I'm going 3. It's just I don't know. I agree with what Nathan said earlier. I thought he captured it very well when it's that I don't want any more of this at all, but I kind of do. So I'm gonna keep going back until it's gone, and then that'll be it. So 3 benes.
Interesting. I just ate a Long's cookie.
Oh, I was like, did that just harden in your mouth and become gelatinous? So where you're
No.
now chewing it?
I just ate a Long's
gummy?
cookie, which somehow is less sweet. Long's, for the listener, if you don't remember, it's that like British thing. We're like, what even is this? But kind of tastes like a Nestle zebra cake kind of thing, whatever.
I think I actually do remember trying this now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow it's less sweet than this iced tea,
Yes. No, the tea is very sweet.
which is wild. So I'm going to give this a 3 1/4.
Mm.
It's pretty good. Not like amazing, but it's pretty good. When I was in high school, I drank a lot of those Arizona green teas. And so I think high school me would have really enjoyed
Mhm.
this.
Sure.
but now it's like if you got Lipton sweet iced tea concentrate,
Yeah.
and then tried to water it down with ice. But even that, it's real strong. So
is.
Okay, so the
It's good.
97.7% is definitely sugar. It's just pure sugar.
it has to be, right? So it's good. It's a well balanced flavor. Like Nathan said, it's not artificial or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like so not my cup of tea.
Wait. I will remember that moment because it's a dad joke that was.
This is such a
Not from
long
me.
laugh track. Oh my gosh. Anyways, it's
Jason's
not
like,
my.
I don't care about that guy coughing in the laugh track. I'm
It
talking.
matters to me because I
He's
think the laugh
laughing
track
so
is
hard.
shorter than it is, and then it gets awkward how long it is, which is my favorite kind of humor.
That's my favorite part.
Anyways, 3 1/4 because it's not really for me, but it's overall as a product, I think it's pretty good. But yeah, so there it is.
Well,
Like I said, bottoms up, y'all.
yeah. Don't get diabetes.
Ugh,
Guys.
that was
I
great.
I regret finishing it like that. I should have taken
I
my
chugged
time.
it.
Yeah.
I chugged
chugged
one a
the
long
rest
time
of it.
ago.
Okay, well, we're not all chuggers.
Sorry.
Like you.
Going back to college me. Sorry.
That's true. We don't all have red Solo cups just littering our
Although-
floors.
On the ground of
I
our
would have
basement.
given that given it a little higher rating too, as if it was alcoholic, like soju.
Oh, that's a good point. That probably
Maybe
would
it
be a
was
good
mixed.
mixer.
Mix
Yeah.
it with
Yeah.
a little soju, like plain soju, because
Plain
it's already got
soju.
the
Yeah, I was gonna
sweetness,
say.
right? Mix it
Do
with
not
plain
give me that with some
soju.
strawberry soju. I'm dead.
Dude, that thing, yeah. There we go. Live in Dallas, we're bringing these teas in from soju.
We're bringing the peach tea from Cafe Bene.
Get
Yeah.
bene and some Jinro soju. So,
Amazing.
Everybody, look under your chairs.
yeah, surprise.
Like, what is this pouch? And why is it cold somehow?
And how
We're
is
in
it already
Texas.
cold?
It's 90 degrees in Texas.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
in
funny.
October. That
In
tracks.
October. It's
Bring your
probably
tank tops. All right.
Anyways,
accurate.
so where can people go to find out about the live show and buy tickets if they want?
JanchiShow.com/live is the place to go. Or if you just prefer, you can go to our Instagram, the link in bio. There's a link there. It'll take you straight to the form. All the information is there too. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can message us again. Instagram, social medias, whatever. Janchi Show. You can hang out with us in the Facebook after party. If you're a fan of Facebook groups, we're technically present there. You can send us an email to janchishow@justlikemedia.com, or you can be like a mayor of Pennsylvania, and not of the whole state, but a mayor in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And give us a call. Leave us a voicemail at 972-677-8867. That's 972-677-8867. I don't know why I repeated it and then made it less understandable, less intelligible.
you went real low.
But it's
Fumbled it.
fine. If you want to get in touch with me for some reason personally, you can send messages to me wherever I want to be found on the internet at KJ Relke.
If you want to get in touch with me, you can do that on Instagram at Patrick in the World and on LinkedIn also at Patrick in the World.
And on
You can
TikTok?
find-
Oh yeah, and
Oh,
on
yes,
TikTok
and
at
now on
Patrick in the
TikTok.
World, I guess.
Hey, I've
Yeah.
been liking
Most of
your
that
content.
transitions over. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
It
Thank
makes
you.
its way back on
Yeah,
Instagram.
it makes its way
It's
back to
fine.
Instagram.
However, my name is not Nathan. I'm the Denver guy, so you'll see that one. But
The Denver. On TikTok.
yeah,
Aren't you doing
Okay.
something with Lego?
yeah, I'm
Like, don't you have like a Lego account?
AFOL, which is adult fan of Lego. So I know.
Interesting.
Adult fan of Lego.
Yeah,
You
all
old A-fol.
AFOLs.
You-
AFOL.
Yikes.
You're a real
Okay.
A-fall.
But you can also find me on Instagram if you don't like Lego at nnowak. You can also find me Nathan Nowak on Facebook and
Nathan
all the
Nowak
other
on
places.
LinkedIn. He's the
Nathan
Asian
Nowak on
one.
LinkedIn. You can find me on my website. You can find me.
I've also seen him post Lego on his Instagram, so don't believe him if you don't like Lego.
I have multiple.
Follow him at
that's
Nowak
true.
Photo.
That's
I don't
true.
want to clutter it with just Lego. My wife already thinks I'm ridiculous.
That's the t-shirt. All right, everybody.
That's
We'll
the
see you
t-shirt.
next week and or in Dallas. Until then, Janchi, hey yo.
Hey-o.